What is this thing we call consciousness? Specifically raising consciousness. What does it mean? And why do we even care? One of my favorite tools in the world, spiritual tools, is the Map of Consciousness by Dr. David Hawkins, PhD. This thing is brilliant. I've studied it, referred to it, looked at it on and off for about 15 years now. And it seems like every time I look at this map, I see something new, something different. I get an aha, I get an insight, a truth into myself. I believe that going north, going up on the map of consciousness is of vital importance. In fact, I believe it's the purpose of life. Just because I believe it doesn't make it true, but that's what I believe. I believe the purpose in life is to raise consciousness towards Christ, love, light, strength. I believe it's taking one where he or she is and growing that soul, working out the salvation, growing that soul in this place called earth, full of hell, full of heaven, everything in between. Everything we need to grow our soul, often through struggle, tension, and strife, and pain, and hardship, and loss, by the way. Most often. That's the most effective path for growth that's needed until it's no longer needed. Anyway, this was our topic this week in the Thumos call. And rather than trying to just talk about this concept of what is consciousness, we actually got into a state. We addressed our current state, kind of where we were, whether we were agitated, irritated, rushed, busy, whatever it might have been. And oftentimes it's below this line on the map of consciousness, this line of 200, below that. And we just lean in, share with each other, pour out, connect, and we together erase our consciousness. Feels good. The map of consciousness, consciousness itself. How do we even talk about, how do I talk about something like that? How do I put that into words? What is this thing we call consciousness? Is it energy? Yeah, probably so. Is it our vibe? Yeah, I think so. It's hard to put this stuff into words. This is an experience. This is energetic. It's almost like, for those of you who grew up with a fantastic Christmas morning, Santa Claus, the whole experience. How do you really tell somebody about that? How do you do that justice? If your Christmas morning, or mornings plural, was or were fantastic, can you really do it justice? Giving it labels, giving it descriptors, giving it words. What about when you first fell in love? How do you describe love? It's almost impossible, isn't it, to do it justice, because it's a feeling, it's an energy, it's an experience. How about the birth of your first son or daughter? How do you put that into words? That's how I feel about this thing called consciousness. How do I describe the indescribable? It just is. It's almost like when you're around somebody, they're either low consciousness or high consciousness. Not almost, they are. But it's almost like we can sense it. You know, there's people that they just drain energy from you. Their energy's bad. There you go, lower consciousness. Even if you don't know exactly where they are on the map, they're lower consciousness, chances are. Or you are lower consciousness, or I am. How about the people on the flip side that just give you energy, even if they're not even in a great mood, but they just give you energy. They bring you up on the map. They're probably higher consciousness, at least in that moment, if not all the time. If I look at myself in my life and I point out to the maps, okay, where's my baseline? Like what was I born into? If there's sort of an overall level, that would probably be desire for me. Like from the time I was a little kid, and I'm better now. I think I've raised my consciousness through a whole lot of work. But from the time I was a little kid, I always wanted more. And there's nothing inherently wrong with desire. People are going to argue it's good to desire good stuff. It's good to desire God, sure. But if you believe the map of consciousness, and I absolutely do, desire is still below the line. Desire says I want for something, as opposed to I have everything that I need. I have no needs. Food, water, shelter, oxygen, it's all there. Beyond that, I have no needs. Anyway, so desire is still a state that's below the line where one is in want. And if you have a mind like mine that can monkey around and compulse over and over, is it ever enough? And for me, growing up, one of the first things I fell in love with as a very small kid was muscle. I just wanted more. I was infatuated. Always thinking about it. Compulsing over it. Wanting more. More. Never enough. Over and over. Thousands of thoughts. And then it went to bicycles, and then it went to cars, and then it went to whatever. Always wanting more. Another emotion that I absolutely relate to is anger. And for me, and like a lot of men, it wasn't always running around screaming and hitting walls. Not at all. It was more the underlying cousins of anger that are still forms of anger. Agitation, irritation, aggravation, all those Asians, they're forms of anger underlying. And those men, those people, they're not fun to be around. And that was me for a lot of years. Clued into that is someone says, I like you better when you're drinking. Ouch. It's because one is less edgy, perhaps, until they take it too far, of course. But the bottom line, all of that stuff is below the line. And I believe, and I'm on a journey to go above the line and bring as many men and people, men and women, with me as possible. How do I get out of desire and anger and into love and joy and maybe even peace one day? And yes, I find it on the Thumos weekends. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Jody. I'm the founder of Thumos Coaching. We're optimizing men, upgrading men, body, mind, spirit, heart. That's what we're up to. We do weekends. That's our flagship. We've got Zoom calls where we get together twice a week, sort of a community, a tribe to upgrade and raise consciousness. But anyway, how do we go from where we are to where we want to go? I think the first thing we got to do is we got to admit that we want to go. We want to be more love, light, and strength. My core values. That's Thumos' core values. So how do I become more love, light, and strength? I think the first part is what we're doing here, putting awareness on this chart, putting awareness on where we are. What's our life view, our energy, our God view? Funny how that works. And then committing to raising our consciousness, going north on that chart. One of the things that I find extremely impactful to raise my consciousness, to get into love, is to quiet this monkey mind. And for me, that journey is the 18-inch journey from mind, from head to heart. It's not always easy, and it's not just for me, it's in a lot of men that I get to work with as well. A lot of worry and hurry and compulsing and desire and anger happens right here. A lot of love and joy and rest and peace happens right here in the heart. Not saying this is all bad and this is all good. All heart and no head is not very successful. It's not very integrated. But I can promise you, I see a lot more of all head and low to no heart, a heart that's almost starving. That's not impressive either. Let's integrate. In fact, we integrate mind, body, spirit, and heart for the upgraded man. So how do we do that? We get connected with nature, connected with a tribe, connected with good, like-minded men and women, connected with people that are fun to be around, that bring up our energy, that challenge us in a good way. We raise our consciousness by very much controlling what we put into our heads, recognizing that the TV is programming. Our grandparents called it programs because it's programming. Don't be programmed. Use the TV for good, for example. In my living room right now, the television is on YouTube, and I'm just blasting, I'm putting out high vibe. It's basically Thailand beaches or Maldives or whatever it is. It's oftentimes Caribbean. That's in the living room right now. So no Fox News, none of that stuff, man. It's too dark. So we can connect with other people. We can disconnect from the noisy environment, get into nature. We can pump in some good vibes via the TV. We can listen to high vibrational music, 528 hertz. And there's plenty of hertz out there. Just go search or ask Alexa to play high vibe music and see what you get. Anything that's soothing and calming oftentimes is higher vibration versus lower vibration. We can pet a dog. We can hug a human being. We can get sunshine. We can start eating better food. We can get rid of toxins. We can sit by the water. We can get in the water. By the way, water's blue. Blue is the color of love. Easy way to raise consciousness. Nature is green. Green is not a bad place to be either. I can sit, and I do, stare at my swimming pool and drink my coffee every single morning. I call it coffee, conversation, and connection with the wife, and we're overlooking the swimming pool, which is behind me as I do this, in front of me as I do this video. And I don't even have to be in the water. I'm just looking at the blue and listening to the sound of the waterfall in the swimming pool. So I'm seeing and I'm hearing. Therefore, it's like 2D experiencing. 3D, I guess, would be if I'm in it. And I'm essentially raising consciousness. Unless I'm on social media and I'm looking at some bullshit or some nonsense, and then I'm going to be undoing all that and lowering my consciousness. There's plenty of ways, my friends, to raise and lower consciousness, and I think what's important is that we choose the path to raise consciousness. I don't think it means that we're naive, that we bury our head in the sands, we only focus on high vibe stuff, that we become hippies and hug tree. I don't think it's any of that. I think it's getting out there enough, poking out and looking into the muck, and perhaps sometimes fighting it as well. In fact, not perhaps, but yes, sometimes fighting it as well. But not spending all the time there. Spending as much, if not more time, considerably more time on the high vibration, the good stuff, the inner stuff as well, versus the lower vibration, the wars, the fights, the outer stuff. I think that's got to be properly balanced. And right now, I think for a lot of people, as they're outer focused and watching the nonsense happen in the world and in our country with nonsensical leaders, I think it's easy to get low on the map, low consciousness, bad energy, negative, and loss of hope. But we shouldn't do that. Because if evil is out there, and it is, I think what they want to do is break our spirit and eliminate all hope that we have. And that's the last thing that we're going to do. It's the last thing we're going to give them. In fact, we're going to raise our spirit, raise our energy, raise our consciousness, and we're going to maintain hope. Even though we don't have clarity on exactly what that looks like, we're going to continue to raise our consciousness. By the way, one of the fastest ways to raise consciousness, believe it or not, is through pain and suffering. I know, I don't like it. I didn't make the rules. It is what it is. I've heard it said that meditation can be single thought, can be simplified into one single thought. I got to tell you, if that's the case, I've been meditating a lot, because there's nothing like having pain. Me specifically, I've got a nerve that's pinched in my neck at C7, which radiates down the arm, which is causing a lot of loss of strength, numbness, tingling, and pain behind the shoulder blade. You talk about single thought focus. A man thinks he has a lot of problems. Give him a health problem. He's got one problem, and he realizes that. Pain can be the ultimate mind focus when it's high, which is where I've been for the last, 14 or so days. Anyway, and there's growth in that. And what it makes me realize is if we're living, we're dying. As much as that's hard for me to admit, there will come a time, if I live long enough, where I will lose at some level the performance around the body, the performance probably around the mind, which leads me to focus on, if I'm smart, I'm wise, sooner or later, focus on the spirit, the soul. Raise consciousness there, because that's the piece that never dies. The body will die. It will age, it will weaken. It's going to happen if we live long enough. The mind, it will die. It will probably age and have loss just like the body, or at least at some rate before it dies, probably. But that spirit, soul, it lives on forever. Why not invest in it? Why not raise the consciousness? So friends, what I would offer is that you take a look at this map of consciousness and see if it speaks to you at all. Don't pretend to fully understand it. Allow yourself to be curious. Don't go try to teach it to friends and family right away. Just look at it, absorb it, feel it out. Challenge yourself, think back, reflect. Where have you grown up? Where are you on any given day on the map of consciousness? And what are the things that you do to where you experience energy, consciousness that's above the line? Acceptance, love, joy, peace. And go do more of that stuff. I appreciate you following. I appreciate your time. Hit that bell to subscribe so you don't miss the videos, and we'll keep the content coming. Take care.